In what many have considered questionable circumstances regarding the demise of Flying Officer Tolulokpe Arotile, Air Force first female combat helicopter pilot, who died on the 14th of July 2020, the Air Force says it will not join issues with those in some quarters who have alleged foul play and chosen to toe the path of sentiment regarding Arotile's death, as there is no form of truth in any of the allegations. The Air Force Director of Public Relations and Information, Air Commodore Ibikunle Daramola, while briefing newsmen in Abuja on the preliminary investigation report on the death of Flying Officer Tolulokpe Arotile, said it would have been ideal for the entire investigation to be concluded before details on the incident are released, but owing to the sensitivity of the issue and public concerns occasioned by the spread of false information, the need to clear the air is justifiable. Just as he noted that the Arotile family are in the know of the details brought to public knowledge. The three suspects connected to the death of Officer Arotile, Nehemiah Adejo, Igbekele Folorunsho, and Festus Gbayegun, former classmates of late Arotile, all civilians and indigents of Kogi State, were said to be on their way to visit one Mrs. Chioma Ugu, wife of Squadron Leader Chukwuemeka Ugu, residing at their cargo quarters on the base. They are currently in detention at the Air Provost Wing 453 Base Services. Findings also revealed that Nehemiah Adejo, the driver of the vehicle, did not have a valid driver's license.
Upon recognizing their schoolmates, that is Flying Officer Arotile, after passing her, Mr. Adejo, who was driving, reversed his vehicle. So what happened was, she was returning for the Mami market on the same side of the road, facing onward traffic, and they passed her this way. And they realized that this is their former schoolmate. So in an attempt to reverse, to meet up with Arotile, who was walking in the opposite direction, as I mentioned, in the process, the vehicle struck the deceased from the rear, knocking her down with significant force and causing her to hit her head on the pavement.
The vehicle then ran over parts of her body as it veered off the road beyond the curb and onto the pavement, causing her further injuries. Flying Officer Arotile was rushed to the 461 NAF Hospital, Kaduna, for treatment, while Folorunsho, one of the occupants of the vehicle, an accident and emergency nurse at St. Gerald's Catholic Hospital, Kaduna, administered first aid. Flying Officer Arotile was confirmed dead by the on-call doctor at the 461 NAF Hospital at about 4:45 p.m. on 14 July 2020 as a result of the head injuries. The three suspects currently in detention were subjected to toxicology tests, but no traces of alcohol or psychotropic substances were found in their systems. The late Flying Officer Tolulokpe Arotile was squadron pilot at the 405 Helicopter Combat Training Group Enugu, attached to the air component of Operation Gamma Aiki in Mina. She had just completed her promotional examinations and was in Kaduna awaiting deployment for her next assignment. On the 14th of July 2020, at about 10:55 a.m., late Flying Officer Arotile received a phone call from her colleague, Flying Officer Perry Karimo, a fellow helicopter pilot, who, according to the Air Force, wanted to discuss arrangements for their return to Enugu, requesting that she comes to the base so that they could work out the modalities. Subsequently, at about 10:58 a.m., the late Arotile placed the call through to Squadron Leader Dieprie Batubo, the Group Operations Officer of the 405 Helicopter Combat Training Group, who was in Mina at that time, to clarify issues regarding her deployment.
It must be highlighted that the call from Flying Officer Karimo, as well as the one to Squadron Leader Batubo, both took place before 11 a.m. on that fateful day. This is over 5 hours before the incident which led to her unfortunate, untimely death.
The Air Force spokesman explained that Flying Officer Arotile was later conveyed from Sabo to the NAF base Kaduna by her sister, Mrs. Adeboye, where the deceased dropped her phone for charging at the house in the instructor's pilot's quarters belonging to Squadron Leader Alpha Ekele. Her elder sister later dropped her off at the base Mami market at about 4 p.m., where she proceeded to photocopy and laminate some document. It was while she was returning from the Mami market at about 4:30 that 3 of her former schoolmates at the Air Force Secondary School, now Air Force Comprehensive School, Kaduna, drove past her in a Kia Sorento SUV with registration number AZ478MKA. Air Commodore Daramola expressed displeasure at some of the reactions that have trailed the demise of the officer, saying many have chosen to politicize her death, while others are using the incident to push meritless, misguided, ethnic and religious agendas.
It is ludicrous for anyone to even remotely insinuate malevolent intent on the part of the service, or indeed any member of the service, against one of its most prized assets. It is of absolute importance that the memory of this fallen hero and our precious child is not tainted by the propagation of these misplaced sentiments and wild shenanigans.
Traffic officers of the Kao Police Station and the Kaduna State Police Command, as well as the road traffic experts from the Federal Road Safety Corps, were reportedly called in to provide support during the investigation. The time frame of when the details of full investigations will be out depends on the investigators. However, the Air Force and the police will work together to profile the appropriate charges. Preliminary investigations revealed that the death of Flying Officer Tolulope Arotile was caused by blunt force trauma to the head. And the Nigerian Air Force has concluded that the matter is now a civil case and will be transferred to the police for onward investigation. Oluwatobi Eniton reporting for Roots TV, Nigeria.